Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Guys, Marco here. Welcome back to my channel. And today we will continue with Gpws system review. And this is part 2 of this series. Okay, today we'll be talking about the look ahead terrain. And then we will talk about a couple of systems available on the 737 MAX. One of them is the Overrun warning system. And then we will talk about the runway awareness and advisory system. The ground proximity warning system, Gpws, alerts the crew about terrain closure and descent below glide slope. The system uses aircraft position as determined by GPS or the FMC when GPS is not installed. The position is compared with internal terrain map data found in the Gpws to show look-ahead terrain data on the navigation display. Terrain more than 2,000 feet below your aircraft is not shown. Dotted green shows terrain immediately below your altitude to 2,000 feet below. As you can see, the dotted terrain here. Amber shows terrain from immediately below to 2,000 feet above your altitude. You can see it right here. Red shows the terrain more than 2,000 feet above you. And magenta color is shown when no terrain data is available. Gpws uses these patterns to show terrain data on the navigation display. These dotted colors become the terrain patterns you see. The dotted pattern becomes a solid amber when the computer calculates that you will hit terrain within 40 to 60 seconds. An amber terrain alert shows the navigation display and a voice alert sounds. A solid red shows terrain when the computer calculates that you will hit the terrain within 20 to 30 seconds. Pull-up shows on the attitude indicator and red terrain shows on the navigation display and a voice alert sounds. The terrain switch turns on and off the look ahead terrain display on the navigation display. Weather and terrain data are not shown together on the same display. When the pilots do not have the terrain mode set when the Gpws computer starts a terrain alert, the EFUS mode set is removed, and the terrain mode and terrain alert show. Now let's talk about a few abnormals. And the terrain inhibit switch is on the Gpws control panel. If the terrain inhibit switch is set to the inhibit position, the terrain inhibit shows on the navigation display, and look ahead terrain alerts are not available. When the terrain fail shows on the navigation display, the look ahead terrain operation of the Gpws is not available. The other modes of the Gpws remain normal. When the Gpws failure affects the look ahead terrain operation, the terrain fail alert on the navigation display will also show with the in-up light. Gpws data compares its position with GPS or FMC position. If it becomes inaccurate, the terrain position shows on navigation display. If the in-up light on the Gpws panel illuminates, the Gpws computer has not received correct inputs or has failed. Here you can see a picture of the QRH, and it's a very short checklist actually. Condition and ground proximity warning system fault occurs. Note, some or all Gpws alerts are not available. Gpws alerts which occur are valid. Now let's talk about the overrun warning system for the Boeing 737 MAX. The overrun warning system does not replace the requirement to conduct an en route landing distance performance assessment prior to landing. The lack of an overrun alert does not guarantee the airplane can stop prior to reaching the runway end. If the in-air overrun go around occurs during approach, execute an immediate go around. Inhibit the overrun alert when landing outside air temperature on the ground is below minus 40 degrees Celsius or greater than 50 degrees Celsius, or gross weight is greater than maximum landing weight. A new control display unit CDU page has been added for the crew to input the expected runway condition. As you can see here, approach reference 2 of 2. Now you can set the runway condition. Now I think it's important to talk about this bulletin from Boeing. It says the testing of the overrun warning system revealed that if a landing runway is not selected in the FMC arrivals page, the overrun warning system will only use a dry runway condition in the system's calculation of landing distance. Thus, if the pilot selects a runway condition that is less than dry on approach reference page 2 of 2, without also selecting a landing runway, the overrun warning system calculation will not compute properly for the degraded runway condition. Operating instructions: select a landing runway in the FMC. If a landing runway is not available in the FMC and the runway condition is less than dry, disable the overrun warning system in accordance with the overrun warning system inhibit operations supplementary procedure. Now, if we talk about the in-air warnings for the overrun warning system, the in-air overrun warning alerts the flight crew that an overrun is likely to occur if the approach and landing is continued. Based upon the airplane's energy state, the pilot entered runway condition, and the remaining available landing distance. What are we going to see? It's a visual red go around message on the PFD, as you can see here. Oral overrun go around issued during approach to advise that continuing the landing will lead to a high risk of a runway end excursion. Warning is armed at and below an altitude of 500 feet. The oral alert will repeat under the following conditions. Height above the touchdown zone elevation is 150 feet or less, and the alert condition has been true for at least 7 seconds. And here you can read when the in-air overrun alert is inhibited. There are certain conditions that need to be met in order to inhibit this alert. So you can read all of them here. Now let's talk about the on-ground warnings. And the on-ground overrun warning alerts the crew that they must immediately apply maximum manual braking and maximum reverse thrust consistent with conditions to stop the airplane by the end of the runway. What are we going to see? We will see on the PFD the message max reverse, red, and we will hear the oral max brakes, max reverse, issued to advise maximum deceleration is needed to avoid a runway end excursion. The messages are also displayed on the heads-up display if installed. Warning is armed from 3 seconds after touchdown until ground speed is less than 20 knots. And here also you can read the conditions why these alerts could be inhibited. Now we're going to talk about the runway awareness and advisory system for the Boeing 737 MAX. So let's start talking about the non-AFM operational information on these two first lines here. One says, do not use RAAS callouts or alerts for navigation. And the other one says, do not use RAAS callouts or alerts as a substitute for NOTAM or ATIS information. The Runway Awareness and Advisory System provides improved runway and taxiway situational awareness to help reduce runway incursions, primarily with approaching runway callouts, and runway excursions, primarily with short runway orals and distance remaining callouts. It compares the airplane's position obtained from the GPS to the airport runway location stored in the Gpws Worldwide Runway Database to provide specific oral annotations and visual alerts. RAAS provides oral callouts along with visual alerts on the navigation display to assist the flight crew with situational awareness during ground operations, approach to landing, and go around. RAAS requires the following databases or systems for proper operation. Terrain and airport runway database is in the Gpws computer. Airplane is on or approaching an airport in the RAAS airport runway database. Global positioning system and other required signals are available, and accuracy meets minimum requirements. Logic algorithms activate RAAS to announce aircraft position when entering or approaching active runway. RAAS callouts and alerts may be inhibited by the runway inhibit switch, as you can see here. And you can see here where the ground proximity warning system panel is located. To alert the crew, the runway in-up light, which is this one here, will illuminate if the runway inhibit switch is in the inhibit position and the airspeed has been 250 knots or greater for at least 60 seconds. The runway in-up light illuminates when the RAAS functionality has failed, is unavailable due to the loss of the required GPS precision, or if the current runway is not in the runway database. Okay, on these tables you can see the callouts available with the runway awareness and advisory system. So it says callouts, alerts, and navigation display messages during taxi and takeoff on RAAS airports. So you can read them here and you can see the description here. Now it says call out, alerts, and navigation display messages during approach, landing, go around, and RTO, which is rejected takeoff, on RAAS airports. This one here says voice call outs, alerts, and navigation display messages. And you can see it here. Okay, guys, with these tables, we finished part 2 of the Gpws system review. I hope you find these videos useful, and I will see you next week when we continue with the Boeing 737 systems review.